Welcome to Headstones and Microphones, where we use AI to step into the past through a researched, first-person simulation of history's most interesting people. I'm your host, Calvin. While we've added some creative storytelling, our goal is to inspire your own study of these fascinating lives. Now, let's meet our guest. I am absolutely thrilled today. We are sitting down with a man who truly changed the world with a guitar and a bit of spiritual wisdom. For those who may somehow not know who you are, who are you?
Hello, Calvin. Well, for those who don't know, I'm George. Some people called me the quiet Beatle, though my friends knew I could talk quite a bit once I got going. I played the guitar, wrote some songs, and tried to find a bit of peace and light in this big, noisy world.
We are definitely going to talk about that quiet reputation. But let's go back to the very beginning. When and where were you born?
I came into the world on February 25th, 1943. It was at 12 Arnold Grove in Wavertree, Liverpool. Just a little terraced house, you know? It was wartime, so things were a bit lean, but it was home.
And what was your given name at birth?
Just George Harrison. Nice and simple.
Is there a story behind your birth name?
Not a grand one, really. My mother, Louise, just liked the name. She was a wonderful, supportive woman. She actually used to sit and listen to the radio while she was pregnant with me, hoping the music would bring me peace. I think it worked.
It definitely seems like it did. What was your hometown of Liverpool like growing up?
Liverpool was a gritty, industrial place back then, especially after the war. But it had a soul, you know? There was a lot of humor and a lot of music coming in through the docks. It felt like a small world, but we were all looking toward the horizon.
What was your family life like?
It was very warm. I was the youngest of 4 children. My father, Harold, was a bus conductor, and as I mentioned, my mom was just the heart of the house. We didn't have much money, but there was always a lot of love and encouragement. When I wanted a guitar, they didn't tell me to get a real hobby, they helped me get one.
That support is everything. What kind of kid were you?
I was a bit of a wanderer in my own head. I was independent and maybe a little rebellious when it came to school rules. I didn't care for the structure of it all. I just wanted to be out on my bike or messing about with strings and chords.
What were your biggest fears growing up?
I suppose it was the idea of being stuck in a mundane life. The thought of working a 9-to-5 job in a factory or an office felt very claustrophobic to me. I wanted to see what else was out there.
What did you dream of becoming as a child?
Early on, I didn't have a specific title in mind, but once I saw a picture of a guitar, that was it. I dreamed of being a musician. I wanted to make those sounds I heard on the American records.
Did you have any favorite activities in school?
To be honest, Calvin, school and I didn't get along great. But I did enjoy art. I liked drawing and being creative. Most of the time, though, I was just at the back of the class drawing guitars in my notebooks.
I think a lot of legends started exactly that way. What was your first job?
I was an apprentice electrician at Blackler's department store in Liverpool. I didn't stay long, mind you. I wasn't very good at it, and the music was calling far louder than the wiring was.
Was there a moment where you realized you were different from everyone else?
I think it was when I realized I could sit for hours and hours just trying to get one chord right on the guitar. Most kids would get bored and go play football, but I was obsessed. I had this drive to master it that felt different from my mates.
What's a decision that changed everything for you, but felt small at the time?
Taking the bus. I met Paul McCartney on the bus to the Liverpool Institute. We were just 2 schoolboys with a shared interest in music. If I hadn't sat near him or struck up a conversation, my whole life would have taken a completely different path.
That is incredible. So what was your biggest break?
It has to be joining the Quarrymen, which of course became the Beatles. John Lennon was a bit hesitant because I was so young, only 14 or 15, but Paul convinced him to listen to me play Raunchy on the top of a bus. John was impressed enough to let the kid in.
What were your biggest struggles before success?
The early days in Hamburg, Germany were tough. We played 8 hours a night in these tiny, dirty clubs. We slept in a storeroom behind a cinema screen. We were exhausted, hungry, and broke. But that's where we really learned how to be a band.
Did you ever consider quitting?
Not really, because even when it was hard, it was better than the alternative. There were moments of frustration, sure, but the music was always enough to keep me going.
Were there any specific daily habits or routines that you feel were essential to your success?
Later in life, definitely meditation and chanting. It kept me grounded when the world went crazy. But in the early days, it was just constant practice. I'd play until my fingers bled, literally.
What job would you have had if fame never happened?
I probably would have ended up as a gardener. I've always felt a deep connection to the earth. I like watching things grow. It's much more peaceful than the music business.
What was your life like before fame?
It was simple. Walking the streets of Liverpool, hanging out at the youth club, and trying to find the latest Chuck Berry record. It was a lot quieter, that's for sure.
How did relationships change after success?
It became difficult to know who was a friend for me and who was a friend for the Beatle. It makes you a bit guarded. But it also brought me closer to the other three boys, John, Paul, and Ringo, because they were the only ones who truly understood what it was like.
Did fame bring happiness?
It brought opportunities, but not lasting happiness. Happiness, I've found, comes from inside. Fame is just a lot of noise. It's like having a lot of stuff. It's nice for a bit, but it doesn't fill the soul.
What was the downside of becoming famous?
The loss of privacy. You couldn't just walk down the street or go to a shop. You were essentially a prisoner of your own success for a while.
What misconceptions did people have about you?
That I was quiet or grumpy. I wasn't grumpy. I was just observant. I liked to sit back and see what was happening before jumping in. And as I said, once I was with my friends, I didn't stop talking.
What was your darkest moment?
There were times during the height of Beatlemania where it felt like we were losing our humanity. People treated us like objects, not people. That was a very lonely feeling despite being surrounded by thousands of people.
What past regrets did you carry that you spoke about?
I sometimes wished I had been more confident in my songwriting earlier on. It was hard being in a band with two of the greatest songwriters ever, but eventually I found my voice.
What's something people misunderstood about your life?
People often thought my interest in Indian culture and spirituality was just a phase or a hippie thing. But for me, it was the most real thing in my life. It wasn't a trend, it was a search for the truth.
Tell me about a time when everything went wrong and how did you handle it?
During the Let It Be sessions, there was so much tension in the band. It felt like we were falling apart. I actually walked out for a bit. I handled it by going home, writing wah wah, and realizing I needed to follow my own path for a while to find my joy again.
Did fame and fortune change your life?
It changed my circumstances, but I tried very hard not to let it change my spirit. It allowed me to buy Friar Park, my home, where I could plant my trees and find my peace. And for that, I was very grateful.
What personal battles were you fighting privately?
Just the constant struggle to stay true to myself while being part of a giant commercial machine. Trying to keep one foot in the material world and one foot in the spiritual world is a tricky dance.
Who had the biggest influence on your life?
Ravi Shankar. He was like a father to me and a great spiritual guide. He taught me that music wasn't just for entertainment, it was a way to reach the divine.
What was life like in your final years?
Very peaceful, mostly. I spent a lot of time in my gardens at Friar Park. I enjoyed being a father to my son, Dahani, and being with my wife, Olivia. I felt very content with what I had achieved.
What were you working on in your career before you passed away?
I was working on an album called Brainwashed. I was recording songs with Dahani and Jeff Lynne. It was a very organic, fun process, just making music for the love of it.
When and where did you pass away?
I left this world on November 29th, 2001 in Los Angeles.
What happened?
I had been battling cancer for a while. I spent my final moments surrounded by love and music, which is all anyone can really ask for.
What's a random fact about you most people have never heard?
I absolutely loved Formula One racing. If I hadn't been a musician or a gardener, I might have tried to be a racing driver. I loved the speed and the mechanics of it all.
What's the craziest rumor ever told about you?
Oh, there were so many. But the Paul is dead rumor was probably the strangest. We all found it quite funny, though it was a bit macabre. People were looking for clues in everything we did.
What was your most unique habit?
I was a bit of a nibbler. I liked to have little bits of food throughout the day rather than big meals, and I was always rearranging things in the garden, moving a plant a few inches because it felt better there.
What was your favorite food?
I loved a good vegetarian curry. Simple, spicy, and soul-warming.
Did you have a favorite restaurant?
I didn't go out much in later years, but I always enjoyed the food in India. There's a certain spirit to the meals there that you can't find anywhere else.
What was your favorite book?
Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramahansa Yogananda. I used to give copies of it to everyone I met. It changed my life.
Did you have any known rivalries?
People like to invent rivalries between us and the Rolling Stones, but we were actually great friends. Within the Beatles, there was creative competition, but it was usually healthy. Mostly.
Tell us a story nobody talks about.
When we were in the Beatles, we once had a cornflakes party in a hotel room because we were too tired to go out and too famous to be seen. We just sat around eating cereal and laughing until our sides ached. It's those small human moments I cherish most.
What's your funniest behind-the-scenes moment?
Filming A Hard Day's Night was just one long laugh. There's a scene where I trip and fall, and that was completely real. We were all so young and just having the time of our lives, really.
Did you ever prank someone?
I liked a dry joke. I remember once telling a reporter a completely fabricated story about my family, just to see if they'd print it. They did.
What was the most outlandish purchase you made?
Probably my house, Friar Park. It's a massive Victorian Gothic mansion with underground caves and gargoyles. It seemed crazy to buy it at the time, but it became my sanctuary.
What advice would you give people chasing success?
Don't let it become your god. Use your talent, work hard, but remember that who you are inside is much more important than what the world thinks of you. Find your peace first.
George, this has been an absolute honor. Do you have any closing remarks about our chat or any stories you'd like to share with the listeners before we sign off?
Just that it was a treat to reminisce. Life is like a song. It has its ups and downs, its verses and choruses, but the melody goes on forever. Be kind to each other, and don't forget to plant a few flowers along the way. Thank you for having me, Calvin.
Thank you so much, George. What an incredible look at a life lived with so much soul and creativity. We talked about everything from Liverpool buses to the peace of a garden. And that wraps up another conversation from Beyond the Grave. Thanks for joining us on the Headstones and Microphones podcast. Remember, legends may die, but their stories never do. Please help spread the word by sharing and following the pod.